All right, hello everybody. Going to give you an update from our Chiefs meeting last week. We haven't had a couple for the past few months, so I apologize for that, but we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So I want to start with our staffing numbers, and I have our notes here. So right now, we technically have 54 vacancies, but those are filled. We have 18 firefighter 3Cs going through the EMT basic testing right now. Those firefighters will be getting released to the field as soon as everybody is licensed as an EMT basic. So with that 18, that puts us at 36 vacancies in the field or in the department right now. We, as of today, have 32 cadets in the 101st cadet class, which started on August 14th. So if we add those 33 into our staffing numbers, we currently have 3 vacancies in the department. So staffing wise, our numbers are looking pretty good with those cadets. And we also are seeing benefits with all of our members that have been coming through our certification classes. We have a lieutenant cert going on right now, and all of those individuals that are able to upgrade are also helping us with staffing. That being said, we're in the middle of summer, so we know that we're still dealing with the typical things with difficulties staffing on the weekends, with people using leave and work off site and all of that. That moves into our paramedic numbers. We have 19 students on work off site for the UNM program. Currently, we have 1 in CNM, and then we have 2 more that will begin this coming Monday at CNM. So with those numbers, that brings us up to 22 members that are receiving paramedic training at this time, and that is almost triple what we've seen in the past. So a lot of our members going through paramedic school. So hopefully we start to see the benefits of this and some relief with staffing in the field and reduction in support fill and force and all of that kind of stuff. So those are our staffing updates. I'm going to move into some of the main talking points from the Chiefs meeting that we want to highlight this go around. The first is DC Romero talked about the pre-incident plans, the PIPs. We have some stations that have been crushing it and getting their PIPs done. If you remember, the requirement is 1 PIP per station per shift a month. So any truck can go out and do that PIP. If you're at a multiple with several trucks, you can rotate that, but it's 1 per month per shift per station. Some stations we're still not getting those PIPs from the stations or the shifts, so just remember to review that policy. And if you need any help, if it's a little confusing what the requirements are or what you need to do, we have our First Due Committee. Klosterman is the chair of that committee. You can reach out to them and they'll provide you some assistance there. The next highlight that I want to bring up is suppression refresher is going on right now. It's pretty busy at the academy. We have not only suppression refresher, we have a cadet class, we have EMT basic program, and then we're getting ready to start our CEs. So we have a lot going on. Suppression refresher this go around, one of the focuses, and we'll talk more about abandoned buildings in this update video, but one of the focuses is to really focus in on tactics for abandoned structures because we have them in all quadrants of the city, and we want to make sure that we're keeping you safe and keeping the public safe when we're operating on those fires. That being said, we also recognize that in training, we don't always come up to training ready to some of the skills we haven't used in a long time. So the kind of the plan for suppression refresher is if there's any training deficiencies that are identified by individuals or crews, we're not bringing people back up at the end of suppression refresher, but rather the training staff who are subject matter experts in the drills that are going on the drill field. So first of all, we have the subject matter experts. We also have performance objectives for the training that everybody needs to meet. If there's any need for refresh in that or some deficiencies that are identified in training, the training staff will identify those in real time. Individuals might have to repeat a drill or review that with training staff so that we can make sure that there's proficiency before you leave your suppression refresher. the example that I use is like a battalion chief that might come up for EMS training that hasn't dropped an LMA in a long time. We might have a driver on the EMS staff that sits down with that battalion chief, reminds them how to do that, perform that skill. They repeat it, they do it well, they move on, about their day and their training. So we're kind of trying to have that kind of like laid back, but still approach in suppression refresher, but still keep that standard really high for performance. So just if you can remember, if you might be a lieutenant or a captain and you have a driver or a firefighter like reminding you how to do a skill, they're the subject matter expert. They're not trying to call anybody out, but we want to make sure that we're proficient in those skills through that training, all focused on coaching and improving what we do so that we can operate more safely and effectively in the field. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to your battalion chiefs and they can discuss with BC McMullen. The next highlight that I want to bring up is the EMS division, BC Ortiz, and all of the EMS staff have been gathering metrics on EMS assaults and battery in the field. It's really important if our personnel are battered or have an assault in the field that we call out APD and we track that. We are seeing it more. We are tracking it for a reason, and that's to try to help make some change, but we have to call them out. So if you have a member that is assaulted on a scene, just make sure that you call APD out and that we start that process there. And then we're also tracking that through image trends so that we can keep track of how much it's occurring. Albuquerque Ambulance is also working on that. And then that just gives us some leverage with APD if we're having issues. So any questions related to that can be directed to BC Ortiz. I brought it up earlier, but one of our focuses for this year is abandoned buildings. We're focusing training on it for suppression refresher. DC Romero and our ADAPT team are working with our planning division and code enforcement on also preventing abandoned buildings from being hazards for firefighters. So there's a couple of things tied with that. One of them is that we put out a memo a week or two ago with our new abandoned building SOG. And another part of that is there's some really important tabs that we added into Image Trend for tracking purposes. It's paramount that members use those tabs and put the data in so that we can, on the back end, work with our planning and code department on addressing those abandoned buildings. DC Romero is working closely with code on any building that's burned 2 times or more. We're sending building inspectors out to deem if that building needs to be put into an emergency demolition for safety purposes list. And we had sent, DC Romero had sent over 10 buildings that had burned twice or more for fire. And when the building inspectors went out, they determined that 7 of those buildings were eligible for emergency demolition. And so it's really important that we're documenting it in the image trends so that we can work on the back end to try to address these buildings to keep our firefighters safe, to keep them from burning. And then if they don't meet that criteria, they may meet the criteria to enter into ADAPT, or there's other programs that they might be able to work with the business owners on those buildings, securing them better, all of those kinds of things. So that being said, we'll keep talking about abandoned buildings quite a bit over the next year. We want to make sure everybody feels comfortable with tactics, that we're working on both the proactive and the reactive side as far as with our SOG and how we operate in those structures. And we'll kind of see after a year if we've made some improvements in that area. 2 more talking points. The next one is, I know I spoke about this in my last video, but we're still progressing through informational meetings on degree requirements, and we would like to make a decision by September on what that will look like. So next week, we're tentatively, it's changed a couple of times, but we're looking at August 29th at 1 p.m. at the Union Hall and then over Zoom doing an informational meeting about degree requirements for promotion, so for captain and battalion chief. So if you have opinions about that or you're interested in it, I highly recommend that you join in on the Zoom or you show up at the hall. I'm working with President Tittman on securing a time, and as soon as we have that Zoom link, I'll be putting a memo out so that we can have a lot of participation and you can have your voice heard related to that topic. And then the final talking point that I had in the Chiefs meeting, it was one of my talking points, and I just want to make sure that accurate information is out, because I've heard a little bit of kind of like what we talked about and then how that might have kind of turned into almost like the rumor mill in the field. So we talked a little bit, or pretty extensively, just about how we treat each other, station or in our divisions, workplace harassment, bullying, mistreatment of members, whatever you really want to call it. We always talk about how we have a zero tolerance for that type of behavior, and really what we're talking about is unwelcomed behavior. So we have the regular firehouse banter, which generally is welcomed between members of crews. On occasion, firefighter or that banter might not be welcomed, or there's behavior that's unwelcome towards one member at the station. And we had a long discussion with the battalion chiefs about that. Somehow it sounds like that turned into a rumor that we've had rookies or newer firefighters resign because of hazing. That's actually not the case. We haven't had, since I took over in March, to my knowledge, we haven't had anybody directly let us know that they resigned or retired because of hazing. What has happened is we've had a lot of discussions with firefighters that have either been concerned about mistreatment of other firefighters or hazing or bullying or those types of things. And so we wanted to discuss it because we need to talk about it, and part of that is bringing awareness to it and then figuring out if we need to have training on how to kind of manage that. So that was the discussion in the Chiefs meeting. Just really wanted to clear up that none of our recent resignations or retirements were directly linked to that. We will have some training forthcoming, and I think really the message at the end of the day is we already have a job that's stressful enough, between our call volume, the types of calls that we're seeing, a lot of our challenges that we have as a department. And so really the message there is to take care of each other. We shouldn't be singling each other out and making life more miserable for one person at the station. If we're doing a great job taking care of the public, let's do a great job taking care of each other to try to, help us through just all the challenges that we have. So if there's any questions or especially rumors related to that, I always recommend that you bring that up the chain so that we can clear it up. We don't want there to be misinformation out there, and so that's why I wanted to really address that one about the resignations. But other than that, I'm going to end on one more thing. I just saw my note here. We have had some really major incidents. Recently, we had the big fire in Mesa del Sol. I just want to specifically highlight what a great job all of our battalion chiefs, all 4 of them were on that call, but BC Rogers was in the command post working with County and Unified Command. He did an excellent job on that fire. We've received a lot of kudos about that. That's a high level one, but aside from that, I've been getting a lot of emails lately from other departments, from citizens, thanking us all the way from, we got one that went directly to the mayor's office where one of our crews went above and beyond to help a woman with her cat. We love cat calls, but getting the cat out of the tree. But in this case, our one of our crews did an amazing job working with a woman that she was so thankful. She emailed me and emailed the mayor's office about it. Just the little things that people are doing to provide that extra customer service is going noticed. So do want to thank everybody for going that extra mile with our citizens. It's noticed it's enough that they're reaching out to our mayor, to executive staff to thank you guys. So keep up the good work, and we will provide some more updates next month. Thank you.